Hey, Ted Dougherty, how's it going?
Hi, it's great to be here.
Hey, thanks for joining us. How are you spending your time in quarantine, Ted?
Uh, still keeping busy, still working on some spooky stuff, which I think is extremely fitting for today's discussion.
I think so. You're cutting out a little bit, but tell me about Road Trip Mysteries. What you just ran a test of a new game, road trip mobile app. What was that all about?
Yeah, well, just for folks who don't know who I am, my name is Ted Dougherty, and I am a writer, producer, and director for seasonal events and experiences and attractions. So I've worked creatively with all kinds of different companies, Universal Studios in Hollywood for their Halloween Horror Nights, Not Scary Farm, Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, all kinds of companies, and a lot of these experiences are sort of at a standstill. They're kind of being impacted right now, and one thing I wanted to do was get something out there now for people to enjoy, get out of the house, take a break, and out of quarantine in a very safe setting. So, how do we do that? So, we did create and launch Road Trip Mysteries about a month ago and ran it for about a week for free. And it was simply a test to see what the demand was for something like this. And I'm pleased to say that it went very well, and we're working on our next mystery. And so, what it really is, it's a problem solving murder mystery adventure that takes place in the socially distanced comfort of your very own vehicle. And so it combines an audio narrative that you'll listen to in your car stereos, as well as visiting like historically relevant and interesting stops while using real world natural outdoor elements that provide clues as to who the murderer might be. And so you really drive around to these cool spots, you get out of the house, you listen to this creepy narration, and at the end, after using some maps and clues, you let us know who you think the murderer might have been. And so our first episode was named The Mystery of Seamy Knolls, Knolls, and it told a fictitious story about a string of very bizarre murders that took place up in the Chatsworth and Simi Valley areas here in Southern California. And it led visitors to old movie ranches that were used as filming locations, Corriganville Ranch and Iverson Movie Ranch. And these are both not far from Spawn Ranch, that was made famous by its inhabitants in the late 60s, the Manson family. And so I wrote an entire interactive fantasy adventure based around these very real locations, and these real locations have rich histories of their own, and they made a perfect backdrop for this fictional story. And I think that's one of the great things about being here in Southern California and the Los Angeles area is we have some very fascinating, beautiful, historic spots that are sometimes connected to some very sinister stories. And that's what I'm looking forward to hearing about from our guests today.
All right, yeah, let's get to it. We're going to talk, or you're going to talk to them all about spooky places in LA.
Hi guys, I am
Hello.
here with Scott and Karie. This is so exciting. I have not been on either one of your tours, so I'm really looking forward to hearing about them today. And as I mentioned earlier, I wrote an entire mystery adventure that was created out of a desire to provide some entertainment, a brief escape for people in the middle of this pandemic. And so here to kind of help talk about some of the things that people can do and see here in Southern California is Karie Bible and Scott Michaels. And so, Karie, I'm going to start with you. because you are connected with and work for Hollywood Forever Cemetery as a tour guide, and on a limited basis, I understand those tours are still being offered right now in this situation that we're in. And so we're always on the lookout for something fun and exciting to do that's fun and safe, especially if it's on the macabre side of things. So can you talk a little bit about how you got into this whole thing with Hollywood Forever Cemetery?
Yeah, I was born Halloween night, actually, which is kind of, I don't know, fate. And when I was about 5 or 6, I saw my first movie on television, which was Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, and it completely changed my life. It's why I'm sitting here today. And I fell in love with old Hollywood. And I got a degree in film. I moved out here in the year 2000. I saw Hollywood Forever and just fell insanely in love, as I hope everybody does who visits there, and realized they didn't have a tour guide. And I thought, maybe that could be me. So I met with a historian who mentors me. I met with the owner of the cemetery, and I've now been giving tours there several times a month since February of 2002. So I've been there over 18 years.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Wow. Okay, so I have been to Hollywood Forever Cemetery one time and just went unaccompanied and just kind of browsed around at all of the beautiful sites. And so it's beautiful over there. Can you talk a little bit about what the tour is like?
Well, the tour is it's really a deep dive into the people that are interred, their lives, their work, their history, a little about the architecture, the history of the cemetery, Los Angeles history. It's not like a horror attraction or anything like that. And I look at it as like it's a celebration of these lives and the artistic contributions that these people made that are still with us today.
Absolutely. Now, for folks who may be unfamiliar with Hollywood Forever Cemetery and some of the folks that have been buried there, can you talk a little bit about, or tell us about some of the folks that are buried there?
Sure. We have a variety of celebrities from past and present. We have Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney, Rudolph Valentino, director Cecil B. DeMille, Tyrone Power, Marion Davies. More recent stars would include Chris Cornell of Soundgarden and director Tony Scott. And we just have a host of stars. I mean, the tour is actually 2.5 hours long. So it's a long walking tour. And right now I'm doing the tours, but I have to kind of take reservations in advance. I can't do walk-ups right now because I'm trying to keep the group small. And everybody has to wear a mask and socially distance themselves. But so far it's been really good and everybody's really played by the rules and it's been great. So I'm really grateful to be back doing what I do.
That is so cool. I know I am going to sign up for this. I did not know until these tours are being offered on this reservation basis. So we're sharing the information out to folks right now. So that way people like me can make a reservation and sign up for this. That is so cool. Now, has the tour had to been, aside from being socially distanced and all that, is the tour being somewhat modified at all because of
a little
situation?
bit in that, well, first off, I had to go on pretty much a 3-month hiatus when the pandemic first hit because it was just so uncertain. The cemetery even shut down except for property owners for like 3 weeks or so. But what I do right now is everybody, as I mentioned, wears the mask and is socially distant. I cap the groups at 10, so no huge groups these days. And also, if people don't feel comfortable going into the mausoleum, I completely understand that. So we actually sit under a tree and talk about the people inside the mausoleum. And so that way, if some want to go in there, we can go and they'll just be in there a few moments, see the graves and then leave. Or if they don't want to go in the mausoleum, they don't have to. So that's kind of been, I guess, the big modification.
That sounds great, though. That still sounds like a wonderful time, and I can't wait to check it out. Now, as I had mentioned earlier before about sort of that road trip mystery idea about leading people to these spooky spots in these old movie ranches, it was a fake story that I was creating around these existing spots. But Scott, for your tours, you also take guests to spots like these different ranches, but you're telling the horrific truth as to what is sort of wrapped around these places. Before I get into that, how did you get into this whole thing?
Okay, I've been interested in this kind of stuff since I was a kid. I think most of us have that are interested in the dark side of Hollywood first discovered it with a book called Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Anger in the 70s. For all that could be said about that, which is you could say a lot because there's a lot of nonsense in the books. However, it's what turned a lot of us onto the dark side of Hollywood from an early age. And now it seems I spend my entire career disproving the myths that Kenneth Anger sort of made up about people. But I moved to Hollywood in '94, so I've been doing it about 26 years. I think I started my own company 16 years ago called Dearly Departed Tours. Our regular tour is called the Tragical History Tour, and it's a 3-hour lighthearted look at the dark side of Hollywood. You'd see about 70 different locations where deaths and scandals and fun things happen. I mean, we do the Belle Lugosi's old apartment. We do where the Black Dahlia may have been murdered, but we go so far as back then, and then to lesser known stories like the suicide of Albert Decker, and then to Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. So it covers a lot of time. And about 10 years ago, I started a tour called the Helter Skelter Tour, which is based solely on the Tate LaBianca murders from 1969. And that's a 4.5-hour tour, but we cover a lot of ground with that, 45 miles. And everywhere from the murder scenes to where, the clothing was thrown off the mountain, where the gun was found, and where not only where the people died, but where they lived and where they worked. So it's I try to make a really balanced look at the people and the crimes. And then we have a couple of other tours. I have a murder tour that goes out on Saturday nights. That's just gritty. I mean, it is as gruesome as it gets. So we offer a lot of different choices for people. Now with the pandemic going on right now, we can only do private tours. If we have do a tour for somebody, it has to be one group of people. We can't take multiple groups of people just for safety's sake. But we are still up and running, and all these tours are still available.
Wow, that is fantastic. And so I know you worked with Quentin Tarantino for his last big film as a historic consultant. Can you talk a little bit about because I know the answer, and I'm sure you do too, but for folks who may not know about the ties between Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Corriganville Ranch and Spahn Ranch.
Mm-hmm. What was amazing watching the film being made was watching the Spahn Ranch being recreated. And I've been on the location where the original Spahn Ranch was in Chatsworth, many times, and it's fascinating to be there. And there are still things that you can actually make out that were there when the family were there. But when they recreated it, that was something that I never expected. Tarantino went so far as to put every sign back, every car back, and the people were costumed just the way they were, and it was literally like stepping back in time watching it unfold. And it's my favorite era, it's my favorite story, so my mind was continually being blown that whole summer while that film was being made.
Oh geez, I could only imagine. I mean, I was seeing photographs of when they were filming the movie that would just like leak out on the internet or whatever, and I was just so excited to see that movie finally come out. And then I did not know that whole Spahn Ranch scene was recreated at Corriganville until we were working on the Road Trip Mysteries. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so to see those same exact spots from the movie and then to refer back to the movie and see how much detail went into that to try to recreate that was just astonishing, really.
It was neat to see an old movie ranch being used as an old movie ranch the way it was back in the 60s and the 50s and the 40s. So yeah, it was like he was breathing life back into these locations. He's literally taking us back in time. And it was for that reason, it's a very special movie to me.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, and that's the great thing about being here in Southern California, in the LA area, is places like these are available for people to go and see. So, you know, they could either, you know, we could go to Hollywood Forever Cemetery and go see some of these famous graves and learn about their history there, or we could go to places like these old movie ranches that were, you know, really marked such a huge stamp in Hollywood history, especially those old westerns in the 40s and the 50s for television shows and everything. And those places are there right now, and it's kind of crazy because, like at Corriganville, the foundations are still there, right in the middle of where the buildings used to be for this old West town that was borderline. It was pretty much like a smaller Knott's Berry farm. It was an old West town that was recreated back then for so many years. And so, Scott, that is great that your tours are available for personal guided tours, and so we put that information up as well. And so by personal reservation, we can go and take one of Scott's dearly departed tours, and we've got so many different options. I'm not sure which one I would go with first. I'm really tempted with the Helter Skelter one, but the murder one sounds so grisly that I don't know. I think I might lean toward something like that. So now, Scott, you also have spread throughout all Southern California doing these tours. Is there one type of tour that you would recommend in this private setting in this current time that folks might be ready to sign up for?
Well, as I say, the Helter Skelter one is the one that's closest to my heart. But because we were isolated for so long, because literally our company shut down in March, and we're just now getting to the point where we can start doing tours again. But so I've been working hard at creating online videos on my YouTube channel. It's called Dearly Departed Online, and I'm able to cover actually a lot more ground that way. I did a video about an actress named Joan Davis, who was from a show called I Married Joan in the 50s, who died a normal death, but there was a fight over her estate and her daughter, a very bitter fight, and the daughter died in a fire with her two sons. And it's a fascinating story. The one I did very recently was on the Lennon sisters, who were the beautiful girls that sang on the Lawrence Welk show, whose father was brutally murdered only 100 hours after Sharon Tate. And they, for a while, they thought it might be sort of related in that way. So, and I did something on Jay Sebring as a human being, not a murder victim, as well as, a whole lot of different things. So virtually, I'm taking people there for free, Dearly Departed Online on YouTube. But if you went to my Facebook page, which is linked below, there's in the bio is a link to every single thing I do. That's my Instagram, that's my tour page, that's my, everything is listed on that page. So, but I'm really proud of the videos that we get to do. And I really hope the tours get back to, whatever normal is anymore.
Sure. No, totally understand. And that sounds awesome. And especially for folks that might be tuning in that are not in the Southern California area, they can tune into those YouTube channels and check some of that stuff out and see what's going on here in Southern California. Now, Karie, is there's what's the best way for folks to make a reservation for one of your tours?
They can just go to cemeterytour.com and click the button Book Now.
Book now, that's simple enough. And then it'll just tell us what time is available and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, I usually start at 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings because it gets so hot the rest of the day. So the tour starts at 10 a.m. It's usually over by about 12:30. So most Saturdays at 10 in the morning.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you guys so much. This is just a very small taste of some of the spooky things that are going on in LA right now in the middle of a global pandemic that people can get out of the house and explore and get some of their macabre juices flowing. And I think that's really super exciting. Thank you guys so much for sharing this information and for doing and providing these tours to really share with folks to help them get a sort of this macabre sort of escape from everything that's going on right now.
Well, thanks for asking. It's been a pleasure, and yay, Midsummer Scream, yay, Spooky LA.
Yay, yes.
Sure.